Hello and welcome to the channel. In this video we're going to see how to add a dependent validation or a multiple dependent validation in Excel. And we're going to do it without macros first, and then in a following video I will do it with macros and I will explain why we may need to use macros for some scenarios. So the validation looks like this. We can select the country here and then we select the region. So the region field is updated depending on the country, and then the city field is updated depending on the region. So let's move to another sheet. And here we're going to have the validation in this worksheet. So first we will add the validation for the country in this field. And for that we need a list of countries. So for now we're going to do something very simple. And I'm going to have just a few countries. Let's call this countries. So we can put this in a table. It has several advantages, but we don't need to do it. But let's put it in a table. So the table allows to add data dynamically. So to add a table, you need to go here to insert and click on table. Now to add a validation, we can we go to data validation, and we select a list, and we can simply come here and say, this is my validation list, right? But we're gonna define a name instead. So let me cancel. We go back here and we're gonna define a name for the countries. So I select the countries only, not the header. And I go to formulas, define name, and I'm gonna call it country. So now we have a name with the countries. And now we can simply add the validation saying this is equal to country. So here we have the list of countries for now. And now we're going to have the second field, which is going to be the regions. So the region, and here we're going to add the validation for a region, and this is going to be dependent on the country, right? So what we need to do now is for each country, we need to have another table with as many headers in the table as countries in this table here. So let me put it in another worksheet, and I will call it regions. And here we need, so for Spain, we need to have the regions here. Now for the other countries, Germany, the same story. We'll have to, add the regions here. The same for the other countries. That was France and Italy in this example. And we're going to put all that in a table so that it's dynamic. And then we're going to define a name for each country with the regions, so as we did earlier. So going here to formulas, define name, we're going to call this Spain. And the same for the other. This would be Germany, and so on. And now that we have the regions and the countries, now we can add the validation here. So we will select the country here, and then this will be updated with the regions for that country. So to do that, we go again to data and add a validation list here. And now we use the function indirect to cell B3. And as you see, if we select Spain, we're going to see the list of regions for Spain. If we select Germany, we will see the regions for Germany. We didn't add many regions yet, but that's that. And now we're going to do the same for the city. So I'm going to add a new worksheet here with the cities. And I'm going to copy here the regions, and we're going to paste that transposing, so horizontally. And for each region, we're going to add the cities. So, and the same for the other. And we would do the same for the other countries as well. So for Germany, that was Saxony. And we're going to put all of that in a table. And now for each region, we're going to define a name with the cities for that region. So for example, for the first region, Andalusia, we go to formulas, define name with those cities, and we're going to call it as the name of the region. And that must be exactly the same name that we have here. Same for the other region. We go here, define name, and so on. And we do the same for all the other regions. So now we can add the validation for the city, which will be dependent on what we select in cell D3, which is the region. And we do that going to data, data validation, we select the list, and again with indirect to cell D3, and we get this message because we did not define yet the name Saxony. So we can see what we have defined here in the name manager. So we have defined a few regions. We have defined the country, some of the countries, and some of the regions. So if we select one of the regions that we have defined, like for Spain, for example, Andalusia, then we're going to see the list of cities for Andalusia. And that's how we create a dependent validation. But now imagine we want to have all the countries in the world, not just these 4, but the whole list of more than 200 countries in the world. And for each country, we want to have all the regions, and for the regions, all the cities. So that will be an enormous amount of work and tables. So, and that's why in the next video, I'm going to show you how to do that with macros so that we don't need to go through all this hassle of creating tables, defining the names, etc., etc. And in some cases, that won't be necessary. If you have a short list of categories for the first field and then you have some values for the second field, you don't need to use a macro. You can do it just like I show you. But if you have a larger data set, like all the countries with regions and cities around the world, it's much better to use a macro to do the work for you. So let's talk about that in the next video. Thanks for watching.